Safety pays, carelessness slays. Don't let foolishness number your days. Yes, my dear students, in this pandemic situation of COVID-19, safety is the most important thing. Wear mask, keep social distancing, and avoid going in public gatherings. Welcome to all to the online class with Mrs. Tripti Sharma. This is our English language class and the topic is active and passive voice. Dear students, in the part 1 video, we studied about the meaning and kinds of voice. We studied the definitions of active voice and passive voice and some rules to convert active voice into passive voice. In this video means in the part 2 video, we shall have a revision of all those things and we shall study much more things about converting active voice into passive voice. Dear children, we know verb means action word. Verbs have 5 properties. And these 5 properties are voice, mood, tense, person, and number. In English grammar, the 2 grammatical voices are active and passive. As we know that voice is a form of verb. So, the form of a verb that shows whether the subject of a sentence does an action or has an action done to it is called voice. Transitive verbs have both active and passive forms. We know that voice is a form of verb. And there are 2 types of voice in English grammar, active voice and passive voice. We know that voice is a form of verb. And there are 2 voices in English grammar, active voice and passive voice. So what is the difference between these 2 voices? So first we shall understand what is an active voice. Active voice means that a sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb. We can also say that a verb is in the active voice when it shows that the subject is the doer of the work. Let's understand it with the help of examples on the screen. Cats catch mice. Verb is catch. Cats is the subject. And who is the doer? of catching mice? It is subject. So subject is doing the work. Subject is the doer. As subject is the doer, so this sentence is in active voice, or the form of the verb in this sentence is in the active voice. The next example on the screen is Mithilesh drinks milk. And here Mithilesh is the doer. It means Mithilesh is doing the work of drinking milk. As Mithilesh, the subject is the doer of the work. So again here the form of the verb is in the active voice. Dear children, in active voice we learnt that subject is the doer of the work, or a subject acts upon its verb. But in the passive voice, the subject is the recipient of a verb's action. Or it can be said, a verb is in the passive voice when its form shows that something is done to a person. Let's understand with the help of examples. Mice are caught by cats. See, the action of catching the mice is done to the person, to the subject. In the active voice, subject, the doer was cats. But in the passive voice, we say that the action is done to the subject, to the person. So, the mice are caught by cats. Milk is drunk by Mithilesh. In active voice, we studied Mithilesh drinks milk. Here, in the active voice, Mithilesh was the subject. Mithilesh was the doer of the work. And here, the work is done to the person, to Mithilesh. So, milk is drunk by Mithilesh. So, dear students, in short, we can say in active voice, the focus is on what subject does. And in the passive voice, the focus is on the action. In the active voice, the focus is on what subject does. And in the passive voice, our focus is on the action. We can understand it with this example on the screen. Ravan killed Jatayu. Here the focus is on what subject does. And what subject does? Killed Jatayu. So it is in active voice. Jatayu was killed by Ravan. See, the focus is on the action. What is the action? Jatayu was killed by Ravan. So when the focus is on what subject does, it is called active voice. Means where subject is the doer, or where the focus is on what subject does, then it is active voice. And when the focus is on the action, or an action has been done to the subject, then it is called passive voice. Dear students, let's discuss some important rules for changing active voice into passive voice. Rule number 1 is on the screen. The object of the verb in the active voice becomes the subject of the verb in the passive voice. It means when we change the active voice into the passive, the subject goes into the predicate. This has been explained here. In the active voice, the structure of the sentence is subject plus verb plus object. It means subject is followed by verb and verb is followed by an object. But in the passive voice, the subject goes into the predicate. So the structure is object plus verb plus subject. Object of the verb has come to the place of subject of the verb. So here object is followed by the verb and verb is followed by the subject. Rule number 2. Dear students, when we change the active voice into the passive, the sentence undergoes two major changes. The subject goes into the predicate and the verb undergoes few changes. First, put a suitable auxiliary verb, and second, change the verb into past participle of the verb. Past participle of the verb means third form of the verb. See the example. Raju eats cake. It is in active voice. Cake is eaten by Raju is in passive voice. Is eaten, see the auxiliary verb plus past participle form of the verb. Rule 3. The preposition by is generally used before the doer of the action. Doer of the action means the subject, and we know that when we change the active voice into the passive, the sentence undergoes two major changes. First, the subject goes into the predicate and verb undergoes few changes. So, dear students, we know the subject of the verb in the active voice becomes the object of the verb in the passive voice. So, in the example, Raju eats cake. Raju is the doer. Raju is the subject of the verb. And see, in the passive voice, Raju has become object of the verb in the passive voice. And see, the preposition by is used before Raju. Rule number 4. Dear students, while changing the voice of the sentence, the tense remains the same. See the example. Raju eats cake. The verb is eats and it is present simple tense. See the passive voice. cake is eaten by Raju. The voice has changed, but the tense is same. It means while changing the voice of the sentence, the tense remains the same. Rule number 5. Dear students, while changing active voice into passive voice, there is no change in the articles. See the example on your screen. I shall water the plants. It is active voice and the article is the. The plants will be watered by me. See, there is no change in the articles. And this is the last rule. Rule number 6. Dear students, while changing active voice into passive voice, the type of a sentence remains the same. It means if the sentence in the active voice is negative, the sentence will remain negative in the passive voice also. If the sentence in the active voice is interrogative, then the sentence will remain interrogative in passive voice too. See the examples. We did not read the letter. The letter was not read by us. Did the police arrest them? Were they arrested by the police? There are 3 main tenses: the present, the past, and the future. Each of these 3 tenses has 4 forms. In this way, there are total 12 tenses. But passive voice can be written only of 8 tenses. So, the tenses that cannot be converted into passive form are perfect continuous tenses in all the 3 time periods: present, past, and future, and future continuous tense. Dear students, you have a list of auxiliary verbs. Go through it and see only 8 tenses are mentioned here. The sentences of these 8 tenses can be written into passive voice. While changing a subject pronoun to object, I becomes me, he becomes him, she becomes her, we becomes us, and they becomes them. Dear students, now we shall learn and practice how to change the active voice to passive voice. See the first example. In the active voice, the sentence is he plays cricket, and its passive voice will be cricket is played by him. Now the active voice, my mother cooks food, and its passive voice is food is cooked by my mother. Cats catch mice. It's an example of active voice sentence. Mice are caught by cats. It is in passive voice. Children love animals, and its passive voice is animals are loved by children. Dear students, let's see these examples. Here we shall have the explanation, and we shall also see how the rules have been used here. First rule says the object of the verb in the active voice becomes the subject of the verb in the passive voice. What is the object of the verb in the active voice? The first sentence is he plays cricket, and cricket is the object of the verb in the active voice. So in the passive voice it will become the subject of the verb. So see, in the passive voice cricket is written before the verb. It has become the subject of the verb. The same way, subject of the verb in the active voice becomes the object of the verb in the passive voice. So the sentence in active voice is he plays cricket, and he is the subject of the verb, and see, it has become the object of the verb in the passive voice. He has become by him. Now the second rule says to put some suitable auxiliary verb plus third form of the verb. Third form of the verb means past participle form of the verb. So see, in the passive voice, the what auxiliary verb is used? It is. Is the helping verb which is used here, and the third form of the verb play is played. Play, played, played. So this is the third form of the verb. So the answer is cricket is played by him. Another example is also there on the screen. My mother cooks food. My mother is the subject of the verb in an active voice sentence, and food is the object of the verb in the same sentence. Now, in the passive voice, the object of the verb will become the subject of the verb, and the subject of the verb in an active voice sentence will become the object of the verb in the passive voice sentence. Food is singular, so with singular we will use is. Food is, then cooked, past participle form of the verb. Food is cooked by my mother. Dear students, all rules will remain same. We have to focus on the helping verb as it is past simple tense. So while changing active voice into passive voice, if the sentence is in past simple tense, the helping verb was or were will be used. You can see some examples here. You gave me a pen. A pen was given to me by you. I read the answer. The answer was read by me. My mother cooked food. Food was cooked by my mother. Cats caught mice. Mice were caught by cats. Now see, the same thing has been explained here again with the past simple tense. Here is an example of past simple tense. You gave me a pen. It is an active voice. You is subject of the verb, and me, a pen, is the object of a verb. So dear students, here two objects are given in the predicate part. Two objects are written, me and pen. So now let's see. A pen was given to me by you, as it is past simple tense, and we discussed that in the past simple tense, while writing the sentence in the passive voice, we can use was or verb as auxiliary verbs. So a pen A pen, it is a singular subject. So the auxiliary verb used here will be was. Dear students, as you can see, now we are going to study future simple tense. Not the tenses. Here we are going to study how to convert a sentence of active voice into passive voice when the sentence is in future simple tense. So the helping verb used here are will be and shall be. It means will be or shall be. Any of the two helping verbs will be used in the sentence. The examples are: we will solve all the problems. All the problems will be solved by us. I shall help that needy person. See the tense, it is future simple tense. That needy person will be helped by me. They will do the work. The work will be done by them. My son will visit the dentist in the evening. The dentist will be visited by my son in the evening. Now, my dear children, let's have the explanation. The method is same, the rules are same. The change is of helping verb only. The first rule says the object of the verb in the active voice becomes the subject of the verb in the passive voice. So the object of the verb in the active voice is all the problems. And in the passive voice, all the problems has become the subject of the verb. In the same way, subject of the verb in an active voice becomes the object of the verb in the passive voice. So the subject of the verb here is we, and it will become the object of the verb in the passive voice. So this we has become by us in the passive voice. Now let's focus on the verb. The verb of the active voice sentence is will solve, and it shows that it is future simple tense. So when future simple tense, this is future simple tense and it is an active voice sentence. So in the passive voice, will solve will become will be solved. So the answer is all the problems will be solved by us. Thank you. That's all in this class. Stay home, stay safe, and keep studying.